I thank Sarah Sunnucks for joining my interview today. Sarah is one of my clients and is a first-time home buyer. And what Sarah's going to do today is share her awesome story about how and her experience about how her and her husband Chris bought a house. So why don't you introduce yourself, Sarah?
Yeah, so I met Dwayne a while ago. I'm a funeral director and I work at Smith's Funeral Home. And so we service the Burlington, Stony Creek, Hamilton, and Grimsby location. And so we met at a networking group. And so I got to hear from him all updates, on mortgages and things like that over the last couple of months. And my husband's a teacher. He's a teacher with the Hamilton board. And so we knew if we were going to start to look for a house, we wanted to look in this general area. And so we reached out to Dwayne. That's kind of how it got started at the
That's
very beginning.
that's awesome, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. I think for me, I've changed careers so many times over the last 30 years. This is the last time, and I think the most rewarding thing for me in the role that I do as a mortgage agent is really helping folks like you find that first home and fund it through the right mortgage products, and it's just such a rewarding feeling. So, and again, thanks again for obviously trusting me, but also coming on today to do the interview and sharing your story. That's awesome.
Perfect. Oh, and I should mention I'm also a mom of five, so
A
there's
mom of
another job there.
five. Oh my god. It's almost the Brady Bunch. All right, so cool. So let's just jump right in. I've got a bunch of questions that first-time home buyers would probably want to know. And let's just start with the beginning. And what was your motivation? What inspired you to buy a house in the first place?
Yeah, so we actually thought we would never get into the housing market. I think a lot of people in their early 40s, if you haven't gotten in, you feel like you've missed the boat or you're never going to get in. And so what had happened with us is when my husband and I got married, we were a blended family, and we had gone through some financial difficulties, and I was had gone back to school. And so my parents graciously offered for us to live at their home. And it was supposed to be just a 1 year, get on your feet type of scenario. I was in school, so it was kind of helpful in that way. And of course, after the honeymoon, we got pregnant. So I was actually a little bit worried because I had to go to my parents and say, listen, we're going to have to stay longer. Who knows what this will look like. And so my parents actually were quite excited. I was surprised. And they said, we've been thinking about it. We want to actually start traveling. And so we kind of developed this plan where they would go overseas. My parents do hospitals, and they fix up hospitals, wells, schools. My mom does music. So, like, they have this whole kind of traveling thing that they like to do every year. And so they signed up for 4 years. And so we thought this would be great. We have a house to stay at. Our money went to bills, so they wouldn't have to pay for it. Some of our rent went to RESPs. So it was quite a good scenario. And then it ended up being 10 years later. So we're quite established where we are. My kids go to the school. My husband works, in the area. So, in July, my parents sat us down and said, okay, we want to slow down. We don't want to be kind of out of Canada this long. We want to come back. We're starting to get older, health issues, free healthcare here in Canada. So we thought, okay, we have from now until basically April to kind of figure out what we want to do. And I thought for sure it would mean signing a lease, doing a rental agreement, trying to stay in our area in that way, because our area, Upper Stony Creek, is a higher cost area. And I never thought we would be able to get into the market. It just, you hear on the news, you hear all these bad stories, and I just didn't think it was for us. And so we started to explore a couple of things. One was, do you have your parents co-sign, do like a 1%, or, somehow help you get into the market? Do they gift you some money as a one-time kind of pre-inheritance? Like, what would work to try to get you in? And so we looked into a whole bunch of things, and I just thought for myself, just because of the situation, we would be okay with having a gift. So my parents offered us a small gift just to see if we could get into the market. And so I had no idea what we would be able to have as a number. And so that's when I reached out to you, Dwayne,
Right.
because I thought, you know what, why don't I just see what we could do? You had mentioned that, you'd look into things for us for free. So I thought, there's no harm. And I was shocked that we got a number that was way higher than I thought we would be able to have. And so that really started this journey for us because we thought, okay, maybe this will be a situation for us. We didn't know exactly what that would look like maybe a house in Brantford or,
Hmm.
St. Catharines. Three of my friends have moved out there. But I just didn't know. That's just the start of it. You just don't know what you don't know, right? So just a lot of kind of education, investigating, and luckily, because I knew you, it was easy to kind of get that first number, which is really where we started from.
Yeah, and I can tell you with my clients, a lot of the first time board, same thing. They have no idea what you can afford. They have no idea what's possible. And the first step in any situation before you're starting to go out and start house hunting and start working with the professionals that you're going to need is just get that pre-approval and just go through, a suitability analysis where we look at everything. We look at your budgets, we look at what you can afford, and then we see what's possible. And then that way our job is just to make sure you're not buying too much home. Nobody wants to be house poor, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And my husband and I both have like good careers. We have good paying jobs, but we're not by any means making tons of money. We're what I would call an average, or just because of the amount of kids we have,
Yeah.
we have a lot of like karate lessons and piano lessons. And, I just didn't think it would be in our budget. And so, being able to just walk through what would it look like. And some of the things you had mentioned too, like if you get a townhouse, there's condo fees, there's insurance, like, so there's a lot to kind of look into, property tax. So just being able to walk through all of that with you was really great because it gave us a chance to kind of wrap our heads around like what this
Mhm.
might actually look like.
For sure. Awesome. What about your initial expectations? What were some of the biggest fears or misconceptions you had about being a homeowner?
Well, I think the first thing I thought was because I had no idea what the cost of houses were. I thought, to be in Hamilton, which is where we wanted to be, I'd have to be downtown, where the tent
Hmm.
community is, or an area I'm just not familiar with. I thought if I bought a townhouse, like maybe I wouldn't like the neighbor, like there's just all this stuff that you just think, what if, or condo, like what's condo fees or townhouse fees, and why are we paying extra money? So there's all these kind of thoughts that you just don't know. You just don't understand what the money goes to, or what's happening. And so when we hired a real estate agent, which she was amazing, Sherry Police with Jamie Edwards Real Estate, she really held my hand. Like she really helped me. She knew I didn't have to move right away, that we were just kind of in the initial phases. And so I just didn't know what I wanted. Like I really was starting from scratch. I just assume I wanted a house, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just what you assume. But there's so many options. There's semi-detached, there's house, like there's just everything going on. So the first time we looked at a house that had what I thought was on my list, she opened the door and she went, "Sarah, this is a no." Like before we even walked in, she's like, "This is a no," which I really thought like this is a salesperson. Like she's supposed to be, not pressuring me, but like I thought there'd be some sales tactic along the way. And just right off the bat, she just relieved that pressure from me. So, what she did do though is she walked me through the house and she just kind of showed me what I'm supposed to be looking for. So, for example, we looked at the foundation and there was this like retaining wall out front with the garden and it was collapsing. And she's like, the amount of money you'd have to put into that wall just to make it, you know, safe is not worth the price of the house, like because it's going to be outside of your budget, right? So just things like that, she just walked me through. The house had like really pretty white cupboards, but they weren't attached, and I didn't
Right.
know this, but it's just kind of like this facade.
Yep.
They're just like IKEA cabinets that are just sitting there. So looking at pictures online, and like you think you're looking at something, but when you're actually there, it's something completely different. And so that was like, okay, this is not. And just the location, it was right off the main road. So she just gave me all these lists. And so she's like, you really got to sit down and think, okay, what are the things you want? So I knew I wanted a 3 bedroom. I wanted at least 2 bathrooms because I have 2 girls, right? So
Hmm.
like I know I want more
Me too.
bathrooms. And that was difficult. Just finding 2 bathrooms was kind of a challenge. I knew I wanted a finished basement because my 18-year-old boys, when they're home from college or university in the summer, they're going to need a place to crash, but they don't actually need a room. I wanted, parking for two vehicles. So, like, you start kind of building your list, and then you start with your number that I got from you and the list, and then you kind of go from there, right? So, we started looking at townhouses in our area because we really liked our area. We went to three on one day, and I thought, it'd be fun to bring the kids. They were starting to get really worried about moving and like losing
Mm-hmm.
friends, and they start to worry about those things. So we went to the townhouses, and the first one was actually really great. We loved the location, we loved the price, we loved the condo fee price. But when we got into the kitchen, there was just kind of a breakfast nook with two chairs, and that
Mm,
just was not our family culture. Like, we have
right.
breakfast together, we have dinner together. So right away, that was like not going to be okay. And then the basement wasn't finished, which, you can finish a basement, but to me, it was like I don't really want to do too much of that sort of planning. So that was a no. And then the second townhouse we saw, it was like a three-story townhouse, and it was an N unit, which I liked. But to just even go to the kitchen, you're like you're pretty far up. And then to the bedrooms are even further. And just with my job, like, I know people get sick,
Mm-hmm.
they get injured. There's just sometimes stairs like that just are not long term for someone. So I thought, this is probably not a great place. And Sherry, she was like, just to bring your groceries in, you're like going up 12 steps, just to bring groceries. And the laundry was at the very bottom. So, like, every day I'd be doing laundry, going up three flights of stairs. So it just logistically, it just didn't feel right. I know it's kind of a weird feeling, but it's like, this is just not it. And then the third townhouse was in the top end of our budget. And so I really didn't want to look at that house because I'm like, we're not paying, like, it was the top end, like the very,
Mm-hmm.
very top end. And I wanted to give us a little bit of room just to kind of live in. Kind of like you said, like, I don't want to be, taking the kids out of karate or like losing out on some of the things that we like to do in our lifestyle. So I was like, no, we'll just look, but it's going to be a no. But then when we came in, it had everything we wanted. It had three bathrooms, three bedrooms, laundry was upstairs, finished basement. I'll show you the green space. Like, it's just amazing. Oh, I have to turn myself around
There
here.
you go. Yeah. One more time. There it
So it's
is.
all green space out back.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Like, I couldn't have asked for a bigger, like, that pathway goes to a Starbucks. Like, you just can't ask for a better,
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Speaking of Starbucks, here I have my own
Yeah,
little mug there.
exactly. But then, you're thinking about, am I gonna like the neighbors? And so, you kind of fall in love with the house, and you're like, oh, it's just not gonna work in my budget. I'm not gonna feel comfortable. And then that night we had gone to an event with the kids, and it was like in another part of Hamilton. And this mom came up to me and she goes, so, I think our daughters met at the local park. I think you live in our neighborhood. And so I said, well, what house do you live at? And she goes, well, we live at 33 at the townhouses. And I was like, we were just looking at
No
32. So
way. That's crazy.
yeah, it was that
Small
night
world.
that we had seen the house, and then we met the neighbor, and it was just a random. And so things like that for me are like, okay, well, it kind of softens you, right?
Yeah.
And then luckily, and this is a huge luck, one of the townhouses in the same complex went on the market, and they had to drop their price. So we just happened to go, okay, now it's within our means of what we feel comfortable with. Let's put an offer in. So that's kind of how we got started.
Started. And you made
But
a really good point there, Sarah. I
yeah,
talk with a lot of first time home buyers like yourself, and the big question you have is like, oh, what's going on with the market today? Should I get in? And a lot of it is around interest rates, and interest rates are good. Like, if you look at a 25-year average on a 5-year fixed rate, that's 5.25. Now we're in the low fours. So I think it like you did there is you found the house that you fall in love with, that's good within the community, that fits with your lifestyle and your kids, and then it's a market right now where you're able to get houses like you did at below listing price, and I'm seeing that all over the place in Hamilton right now. And I just had a client ridiculous deal, but the client, the seller that was selling the property was selling it for, or bought it for around 580,000. And guess what? That client just bought that house for 474. So
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
the seller lost about 100 grand, but the buyer, like you, lucked out in that situation. So that's a good point. So thanks for sharing that. So let me jump over to the next question I have. You talked a little bit about house hunting, what you did, location, and shared that. That was actually one of the questions that I had. But I'd like to talk a little bit about what your experience was like with the mortgage process. And if I just kind of paint the picture, what a typical situation happens is, first of all, you get that pre-approval, and we'll talk a little bit about that and your experience. But then you're also working with a bunch of new professionals, right? You've got a real estate agent that you're working with, you have lawyers that you're going to need, your insurance, and you can talk a little bit about that. But that group of professionals, we all work together. We all share a little bit of information, and that helps to make your experience certainly a lot smoother. So I'd love to hear about that and your experience with the mortgage process.
Yeah, so similar to my job, when I help with families, we do a lot of paperwork, right? Like
Hmm.
the government wants a lot of paperwork,
Yeah.
companies want a lot of paperwork. That death certificate, everyone wants one of those. So like I'm used to paperwork. I'm
Yeah.
used to like doing things in a certain way. And so this process was actually similar in that way, in that the first step was having to get a letter from my employer and getting my husband's letter from his employer, and what our T4s look like, and there's like paperwork you have to submit, but it's not that difficult. Like my employer's done that many times. They were really quick to give me that letter. So you just have to kind of wrap your head around the fact that there's going to be paperwork. There's going to be things that you have to submit, for the bank to say, hey, yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but once you get that approval, you're like, okay, I know exactly what to do. I know the number that I need to work with, right? So, and then when we talked with you, you did talk about, okay, there is a fee for a lawyer for real estate, right? And
Hmm.
so, you have to choose who you're going to do, and what the costs are. Because I was a first time home buyer, that cost was just directly put into the fees, right? So it wasn't a pay out of pocket fee. But I did have to be aware of what I was paying for and what I got. And so the lawyer's job is basically to make sure there's no liens on the house, and like the title is in the right person's name that you're dealing with, and they're there to protect you, right, from any legalities. And they were great. They encouraged me to change the locks. They encouraged me the first day I was in the home to look that all the appliances were there. Like that was
Yeah.
make sure things there that you signed for. And then because it was a townhouse we got, there is something called common area, and that's just kind of what is common with that you're sharing with other people. And so she was great. She walked me through like, okay, if your kids are into basketball and you have a basketball net at your home, there's no basketball nets allowed at your condo. So you have to make sure that that's okay with you, right? So she just like walked me through those things. But I didn't realize like that condo fee or that townhouse fee, it pays for like a new deck, windows. If there's a storm, they put shingles up, they cut the trees, cut the grass, do the snow plowing. And so you're kind of looking like I'm paying this fee, but what does it really cover, right?
Hmm.
And so kind of look through, okay, if I had to do that on my own, those costs would be so much. And so paying that condo fee, is it going to be worth it, right? And so there's a lot I learned. There's definitely a lot I learned. And then some of the other professionals too, like I have to ensure the contents inside the home, right? That's what I'm responsible for. So I needed to have an insurance guy. And I had to have someone to change the locks. And Andrew Traco, who did the locks, he was great. We were really lucky. We bought from an original owner, so they had owned the home for 25 years. Now it does need some work. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's so true, Sarah. Like I remember following you when you closed. I follow you on Facebook. We're friends now and stuff, and on Instagram. It's like literally the closing day. Next morning, it's like you had this party with all these people over, and they're all helping you with taking wallpaper off and a whole bunch of
yeah.
different projects. It was so fun to watch, by the way. But yeah, I hear that. Yeah, maybe share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the good thing about the townhouse is the bones are amazing.
Hmm.
Hardwood floors, great, like the walls are hardly touched, but they're lime green, right? And the lights are the Tiffany lights from like Pizza Hut, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, and there's lots of wallpaper, which is typical for someone in this age group. So I thought the first thing I should do is I should change the lights to LED lights, because
Yeah.
before I do any painting, I want a lot of light to see what I'm doing. So
Good
luckily we
point.
have an electrician, and he came and changed the lights. That was kind of step one for me, just because I wanted to make sure we could see. We painted the tile. So I looked into like, taking tile off, doing the stick on, like kind of looking into what would be the best. And we decided to paint for now.
Hmm.
The tile was like a creamy, peachy fruit on it. It was just quite fun. So that's already done, and now we're working on burgundy carpets. So that'll be another adventure. But I was okay with that. I was okay with, as long as the bones look good. That, like, the other stuff, I just call it the makeup. I'm just updating the makeup, right? So
Hmm.
I was fine with that. It did make this house more in our budget to have to just have it a little bit of upgrades, um, but it worked out great. And so the changing of the locks though was kind of interesting, because I was thinking, do I really need to change the locks? Like, it's only been one owner. Is that really something I have to pay for, right? Because you're kind of going through your budget. And thank goodness I did decide to do that, because when he came into, he just like rekeyed it,
Hmm.
where you the lock out and rekey it. He said that there was a master key still
Oh
attached
no.
to the house. Yeah, so either the condo board or the construction workers, they still had access to the house. So he was like, it's a good thing you did this, because that skeleton key would have been still kind of floating out
Oh my
there.
God, that's so
So
sketchy.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
my insurance guy and the lawyer both said you should change your locks, right? And so, you have to really trust your professionals, right? They're in
Mhm.
the job that they're in for a reason. They're not there to kind of harm you. They're there to really, they've seen the worst of the worst, right? So, I'm really grateful that I had such a great team, just helping us the whole journey. And it's a lot. It's a lot at the
Mhm.
beginning. I definitely have more compassion for people who have lost a loved one and then now have to sell their home. I mean, I just really, my heart goes out to them, because it is a big job. You're signing a lot of documents in a short amount of time. And so, you're trying to understand what you're signing and all of that. And my heart does go to people who have to do this when they're also dealing with a death and a funeral and all those other things that happen.
That's
So
so true. And the fact that you and I got to know each other a lot through like our Burlington networking group, but the fact that you've done a lot of presentations, you and I even did a video on what to do, best practices to get prepared. I've learned so much. And because now as a mortgage agent, I do have a lot of conversations with people when they do have to, unfortunately, take care of a mortgage when someone passes away. And it's amazing how much I've learned from you. And yeah, I appreciate that too, which is really cool.
mhm, mhm.
um, so yeah, we're still talking about the mortgage process. What I'd like to know a little bit more, what was your experience like once, okay, you get the pre-approval, then you go out and you work with your realtor, and that's Sherry Police, that to go find the property. You find this property. Okay, now we're about to make an offer. I'd love to hear about what was that like. How long did it take to get the offer through, and how nerve wracking was that? So yeah, share your experience.
Yeah, so I didn't realize how quick
Hmm.
everything goes once you've like made your decision, because you do want to take your house off the market, right? You don't
Hmm.
want anyone else. You don't want them to have like an open house, or like showing a whole bunch of showings, right? And so it's kind of quick. It's a quick turnaround. So as soon as we agreed that this was the house, it was in our budget, we were going to put an offer in. It was like within 24 hours, I had to get a deposit into the hands of the real estate agent. And we basically had to then really quick, like, I think I was on the phone with you like a bunch of times and texting and
Yep.
like, what am I doing? This is crazy. Or did I make a mistake? Like, you kind of have to step off the ledge a bit, right? Because it is a lot in a short period of time.
It is
And
fast.
when you're working with people though that you trust and that you feel like they're out for your best interest, right? So I did make a call to my dad in Africa, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. And he goes, Sarah, like, if you fail, if you go into the market and you get a house and you fail, you can always move back home. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to be okay. But if you never try, you're going to be stuck, right? Like, and so
Mm,
he was like, just do it. You got this. You're good. Like, obviously I like to budget. I like to make sure everything's okay. But sometimes you just have to step out, right? You just have to really try to do your best, and everything was lining up, right for us. So we just took the leap. It really is a leap,
mhm.
because you're like, okay, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna own the bank. I'm gonna own the bank for a while,
Yes,
you
that's
know.
true for a very long time.
And but it was great because both you and the real estate agent was like, this is a good deal, this is great for your family, you're going to be okay. And so yeah, it's a lot in a little bit of time. We had to get a lot of paperwork into you. My husband pays child support still, so like there was a bunch of paperwork we did have to do right away just to make sure everything's okay. The gift my parents offered, we had to prove that it actually existed. I had to talk to my brother, who's also a beneficiary of my parents' estate, just to say,
Oh,
listen,
yeah.
we're taking some of our inheritance early, really, because I've seen, mom and dad gave so and so 20 grand or 30 grand before they died. You want to
Yep.
make sure everyone knows that's happened, right? So there's no fighting. So, you kind of have to really think about, like, there's a lot of pressure. And like I said, like if you have a life going on while this is happening, right? So you do need to really trust that your professionals are helping you out each time. And then you've got to have the lawyers set up as well, just to make sure everything, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and stuff like that. So yeah, it was quick, but
Yep.
definitely I felt comfortable that I was with the right people.
For sure, and that's important. And if I break that down on my end, so if I open up the hood and I try to explain to first time home buyers what that is, so you're going to get a pre-approval. What we're doing there is we're just going to verify all your documents, your income documents, your down payment, and just make sure that that you can qualify for this mortgage. But then once you get that agreement of purchase and sale, the realtor will send me that document. They'll send me their MLS listing as well. We submit that to a lender within 24 to 48 hours. We get what they call a commitment back. And that commitment back is what I shared with you and Christopher, and we reviewed everything. From there, what'll happen is the lender's going to give you all those conditions. So all the documents that Sarah's talking about are the simple conditions that we need to meet in order for us to feel confident that this deal is going to close. Okay, and these are just lender conditions. From there, once that we've met all the conditions, then it transfers over to the lawyer. So the lawyer gets instructed, and that's where you worked with your lawyer. They get the instructions from the lender, and then they're working with you, and you're signing all those same documents again
Yeah.
right before closing day. So I'd love to hear kind of your experience. Okay, so we've met all our conditions with the lender. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief, right? We remove our condition of finance, and now we have a firm deal. The lawyer's instructed. What was your experience like at that stage with you and your lawyer?
Yeah, so we sat down and we kind of reviewed all the documents, which it is a lot. Like,
Hmm.
you do, the lawyer does make their payment for sure. That's
Yes.
for sure. But we review all the documents, and she was so great because she knew we were first time home buyer. She walked us through everything really, really well. This is how much each thing costs. Like, there's property tax we put into the mortgage so that we didn't have to worry about an extra payment. There was the townhouse condo fees we put into the mortgage, so we don't have to worry about that as a separate payment. I just thought, because it's the first time we're doing this, we'll just set it up that way, make it easier on us. So she just kind of reviewed all the documents. The condo, they have to prove where the money's going and being held, and
Hmm.
that there's enough if there was like a problem. So yeah, we just reviewed a whole bunch of documents. Making sure that we actually got the gifting money out of the bank, which for us was a little bit more difficult because my parents are in another country, but we did work it out. Eventually it got put through, but that was a little bit of a headache for me because it would have been a lot easier. My mom actually offered. She's like, "I'll fly home if it doesn't
No.
come through." So, but luckily they didn't have to leave Africa for that. But It is a little bit of a time. Like I had to take a little bit of time off work, and so did my husband to make the lawyer appointment. And so you do have to really prioritize this, right? And so, but it was really quick. Like we had a really quick turnaround, and it didn't kind of hang over my head in that way. It was just, you just need to make sure you have everything there. And the lawyer was like, you need to get the insurance in place by such and such a day, right? So I called the insurance person I knew, Stephen Warnicka, and he set me up within a day. So, like, you kind of just have to have everything in place really quickly. But I'm kind of used to that with kind of my job, having things you have to do right away in a row. My husband, not so much. He likes to just, he loved being a supply teacher. He just comes in, has fun, leaves for the day, doesn't have to deal with parents. He just likes to come in when he needs to come in. But luckily he's super smart. So like everything the lawyer said, he got no problem. So but it is important, right? It's important that you know what you're doing, and that you're understanding it. And if you're a first time home buyer, it does feel overwhelming because you're like, I don't know what this means, or I don't know what this will look like down the road. But I can say on this side of it, now that I'm done, I'm so grateful that we did it, because I thought for sure we would never get into the market, and then here we are, right? So
That's fantastic. It can be daunting, it can be overwhelming, but if you have the right people in your corner, they're good communicators, they take their time and they're patient, they can set you up for success for sure. And that's why it's good working with the right professionals, and having good communication between the realtor, the mortgage agent, and certainly the closing real estate lawyer as well, and the insurance guy, because they all need different documents, right? So
mhm.
what would be interesting to know? Okay, so today we closed. Dude, you got your keys, or maybe the code to your keys, the keys that you need to change. But
Yeah, yeah.
what were the first few things that you did to get prepared for your move-in day? What, like, if you had some advice? What was your experience like, and then maybe some advice for people to prepare for that day one move-in.
Yeah, so our lawyer suggested that we go into the house the day we get the keys and just take a good look around. So like, is
Hmm.
everything in there that they said would be in there? Is the window coverings there, the appliances, are they all there? Are they all in working condition, right? So, you turn on things, put the shower on, you put all the sinks on, you just make sure everything's okay. Our the people we bought from are a super super couple. They're definitely in their senior years, I'm sure. On the listing, there was an acorn stair lift. So I've never met them, but I know that was the situation. He left me a lovely note, how to
Mm.
turn off the water. Here's
Aw.
where, like he had written, the washing machine doesn't have hot water right now. We had turned it off. So like I knew some things. He had said like where the opener for the garage was. And so like he wrote me a nice little letter, which was really sweet, kind of helping me out with kind of learning, like you got to learn like where everything is. There's a random light switch that like it takes a fan on in a random bathroom, like so. He had even written like that switch is for a fan in case of a fire. Like there's just you just kind of random things you walk around, because really you only get 2 days
Hmm.
after you sign the papers that you can come in. And so in those 2 days, I had paint swatches and measuring tapes, and it's not a. And then I also brought in like my aunts to like look around, right? So you're excited, but you're not really thinking too much. So that first day, you really do have to do a good walk around, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Try things, turn things on, because you only have a short amount of time to really say, okay, this condition wasn't met, right? Like
Right.
you did it. And I have heard some stories where like the dishwasher that was there has been swapped out with another dishwasher. That didn't happen to us. Like everything was, well, our fridge is a Kenmore beige 20-year-old fridge. So that thing's never gonna die. I'm actually keeping it because I'm like, it's never
Solid
gonna die.
state. Yeah, for sure. They don't make them like that anymore. For sure.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. So, that Kenmore fridge was still here is fine. But but yeah, and then from there we actually started right away. We started taking down wallpaper. Like I said, we put lights up. We just wanted to kind of start making it our own. Our plan was to move in by Christmas, just to kind of have the kids have a goal. And so a lot of measuring, a lot of like paint swatches. If you have a professional like designer and things like that, or if you're in a quick turnaround, getting things in quickly, there's a lot of help you can have with that. I'm surprised how much I have to downsize. I've been in my home for 10 years, right? So there's a lot we're just not going to move in
Hmm.
and get rid, and it's hard right now. Everyone has too much stuff, right? So just a lot of those are concerns, but you get through it. So, but we have a lot of burgundy carpet, so that's kind of one of my to do. But I was thinking, do I change it now? Do I wait? There's all these kind of thought processes, and luckily I was able to not have to do the tiles, so I'm going to put that money into the rugs. Um, the carpet, I mean. And so, yeah, there's a lot to kind of think about, but I find it's quite fun. I think it's to make it my own place. And
Absolutely.
I do post updates on Facebook, and everyone is enjoying those. So I'm not like a designer or a carpenter by any way, but I've got 5 kids, so I've got like an army to help me with a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, thanks for sharing that. That was a lot of helpful tips there. And I'd like to talk a little bit about overall lessons learned, move-in experience, and maybe some top tips for some first-time home buyers to think about. What I'd like to learn, and maybe share, if you could share with other first-time home buyers, is looking back now. What are some of the big lessons learned from this overall experience that you might want to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I learned was I was under the assumption that I would never buy a home. Like, I'm in my 40s, it's just never going to happen. The prices are too big. I'm not going to be in the area that I want. I'm going to have to rent. And that just was not the case. Like, I was just not willing to look into it, right? Like, I just thought, this is what I hear in the news. This is what I hear from everyone else, that house prices are so high. But that doesn't mean that that's the truth, right?
Hmm.
And so I was really, really grateful that I did decide to reach out and look into what we could, afford, right? And like I said, we don't make tons of money. We're a regular, couple who have career jobs. And I was shocked. I was shocked how much we could put into a home. And then when we did start looking, the fact that we bought in the area we bought, where we didn't have to move the kids there, it was exactly what I wanted to do. And just being open to the experience, right? Like, we really did uh, have no knowledge of what we wanted, where we were going. We kind of started from scratch. So it's almost like if I can do it, you can do it type of
Oh,
feeling, because
yeah, true.
feel like I just didn't think this would happen. I'm divorced. I was a single mom. Like, there's just so much stuff that happened in my life that I just thought this boat had sailed, right? So I would say definitely reach out, look into what you can afford, chat with your family. A gift is such an easy thing that could be, something that could be open for you. Or other opportunities, might come along. A first time home buyer's account, we open that up, put some money away for that. So there's just a lot of options. There's lots of savings being a first time home buyer that you might not be aware of. So, those things are all important. I will say, however, once you do make a decision, it is a quick turnaround to get the down payment down. So, like, be prepared that you're going to feel pressured, and it's going to feel like things are a quick turnaround. But that's normal. That doesn't mean you've done something wrong. But once you find that house and you want it off the market, it is kind of a quick timing for that down payment to happen, and just for everything to come through. So you do have to put effort and time into, making sure this happens for you. But um, I just feel like I thought I would be renting, and I'm not, and I'm just really surprised. So I didn't mention the name of my lawyer, and I should actually say, like, it's Fieldstone Law in Burlington, and they were just so great for us. So I did want to kind of mention their name, but I'm so grateful for the professionals that have helped us out. I was also surprised how many I needed. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really realize how much you need for this process. But you do need a mortgage agent, you need a realtor, you need a lawyer, all those people that are going to help you with everything that you need when the time comes. But, people want you to reach out and just ask questions, right? That's what they're here for. So Yeah, that's I guess that would be the overview of my journey to get
That's
here.
yeah, that's great. And I think there's a couple of things you brought up. I'd like to just explore a little bit more and touch on this. The first one is the gift. So as first time home buyers, we're seeing a lot of this where, going to the
Mhm.
bank, mom and dad or grandma or whatever, where, they're helping with the down payment or helping with the closing costs and that sort of thing. And we're seeing a lot more. And I think when you think about what you do as a funeral director and helping people with, end of life and preparing for all of that, it's pretty important to understand that, hey, giving money now is sometimes a lot better than waiting till you pass away and then getting an inheritance. Right now, it's one of those situations where you get to now, as a grandparent or a parent, you get to see your grandchild or your child use the inheritance now and see them in their new home and stuff like that. So, I think that's a good point for sure.
Yeah, and we talk about probate fees, right?
Mm.
And probate fees are fees that the government takes if you die with money. So
Hmm.
in my mind, it's like, why wait if you want a gift? Excuse me, gift now, because then it's a complete gift. The government can't touch it. There's no tax implications. If you have someone like myself who just needs a little bit of boost just to get in there, just the down payment or something like that, like you're really helping them really make this happen for them. And if you wait, the government does take a portion, and why give it to them, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you're in that situation, not everyone is, but definitely this should be your push to kind of help people out if you can.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think a lot of people, I know we were talking about before, you're gonna owe the bank forever, but it's there's ways around that. So there's a lot of different lenders that you can work with, and we worked with a really good monoline lender. One I work with all the time, and a lot of these lenders will have what they call prepayment privileges. And one of the things you can do, and your situation isn't always going to be the same, right? 10 years
Right.
from now, both you and your husband, Christopher, could be in a different situation financially. And then as you get a little bit older and your kids get a little bit older and stuff like that, situation changes. So when those situations change, your financial situation changes a little bit too. And if that does happen, and if you ever see like you're making a little bit more money or you have some extra cash, they have these prepayment privileges there for a reason. So, for example, with yours that you have, one of the prepayment privileges is just increasing your monthly payment by, say, 15%. And what that just, it's not a big amount, but what that little 15% does is that goes directly towards your principal. And the more principal you pay off, the less interest you pay and faster you pay off your mortgage. So there's lots of different strategies around doing that. So you don't have to worry about being in a mortgage for 25 years. There's definitely lots of ways to cut that back. But great advice. I love that. One more thing, maybe a last question I have is, what's the big one piece of advice that you would give first time home buyers? I know you talked about just get out there and start shopping around, but anything else you want to add?
I would just say, like, you'll be surprised how much help there is out there to get you into a home, and just take advantage. Look into things. Don't just write yourself off that you're just going to be a renter forever, or you're stuck where you are. Like, there is lots of options. You just have to really make an effort to look into it. Like I said, I was shocked how much offering we had for being first time home buyers. I do have a financial planner, and she helped me a bit, like getting all that stuff organized too. So, and another thing I say, like, I know we were drinking Starbucks earlier, but a little less Starbucks, a little more savings goes a long way, right? So,
Yeah, you do got a budget. You do got a
you
budget,
have
but
to budget.
but
Yeah. So, but it's manageable. It can happen. You just really have to, just be open to the idea that you could own a home and get there, right? But I'd say get to know professionals who are in it, who know what they're talking about, and they're gonna be holding your hand the whole time. I mean, I was grateful. Like, I could text you anytime, to talk me off the ledge, because it is a little bit of pressure when you first get started. But now that I'm on this end of it, I'm like, man, I'm great, so grateful for sure.
well, I'm more than happy to help anybody with getting a pre-approval and understanding how that works. And I think for me, it's the most rewarding feeling I've ever had in my life for any career was helping folks like you buy your first home. It's I think I'm more excited than you are on closing day, and probably a little bit more stressed. But no, I absolutely love it. And I just wanted to say, Sarah, thank you so much, not only for just being a friend and meeting each other at the Burlington networking group, and collaborating on some stuff for YouTube. I really appreciate the fact that you trusted me to help you and your family with your mortgage.
For sure, yes. And I'm grateful you're letting me tell my story because I feel like it's such a great story of how we got here. And just, if you had asked me in July that I'd be owning a home, November, I'd be like, that's crazy, but here I am. So
Great. Hey, I don't know. The kids are gone. I know Chris took the kids to piano. You want to take us a little walk around and show us your house?
yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look. I'm sure the viewers will probably want to see what happened. All right.
So this is our kitchen.
Yeah, all
Here's that
right.
fridge.
That's the Kenmore fridge.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
I have already painted the backsplash like a white,
Nice.
and there was wallpaper all up in here with fruits. I've already taken that down and primed it.
Hmm.
So I kind of figured out if you do a lot of the prep yourself, the labor costs are a lot cheaper. So
Hmm.
I'm priming all the walls for the painter, and then he's just coming in and painting, which is great.
Nice.
And just this beautiful view. I just can't get enough of that. So we don't have a lot of stuff on, but these are those neighbors I met. They are
Yeah.
right through this window here.
Nice.
So wave to them. It's pretty fun. And here's the burgundy carpets
Oh,
we just
that's some lovely carpet there. I could see you're pulling
yeah,
that up. Your kids
but
were
it's
helping
got
you as
beautiful
well.
hardwood down here.
That's nice.
So we just started removing a few of it. We just wanted to see. So this is one of the things. Like, do you take the carpet off and paint it, or put wood on it, or do you put carpeting down? Right. So George from Alexanians, he got me some carpet. So we decided to go that route.
George is awesome, by the way. I've recommended him quite a
Yes,
few times.
exactly. And then this is the one bathroom, which is quite large. And then there's an ensuite bedroom.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's
it's so
huge.
big. And then this is our nice little complex. We've got visitor right out front, which was what
Nice.
I wanted. So we've got lots of visitor parking. And for a Saturday, there's only one car there, which was crazy to me. More burgundy carpet.
Hmm.
But upstairs laundry, which I love. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
This is my son's room, and he's got this walk-in closet.
Wow, that's huge.
And then my daughter's room here. So the girls want an orange room, so we're going to be painting it orange.
Nice.
But the I mean, it's an old style closet doors, but it's huge. The closets are just enormous. And then I'll take you to the basement.
Cool. Don't trip. Be careful.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing shoes, so
Oh, good.
this is where all the majority of the wallpaper was, like all
Yeah, I
here.
saw. That's where I saw you guys when you first started pulling it all down on it, Instagram
Yeah,
and Facebook. Yeah.
it looks great now, even though it just needs a little bit of help. But our painter's coming in this week, so.
Cool.
And this is what really got us. So this is a finished basement.
Hmm.
It's also lime green,
Is that a
but it's
real
not,
stove? Is that a real stove?
that's a fireplace.
Yeah. That's, I mean, a
Yeah,
fireplace. Is it gas or is it?
it's gas.
Oh, gas.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. Cool.
huge window, so
Hmm.
you can have someone live down here because the window's so big. This is just a pull-out couch for the boys.
Nice.
Furnace room, of course,
Spider Man's in there. Yeah.
here, and then like an extra toilet and sink. So that's what made the
Three.
three.
Yeah. Three bedroom or three bathrooms. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So this area really sold it for me because we can have the kids down here and they can be hanging out, and it's carpeted. It's great. I'm really thankful. And then we got a door to put here so they can just help with the noise.
Cool. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for walking us through your home and for sharing all the valuable tips and your experience. This was probably one of the best videos I've ever done. and hopefully the viewers find some nuggets of good information that they can pull from this. But thank you so much again, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.